In the beginning, God lived alone by himself in his paradise in heaven. And then he decided to create life. He did this first by creating his Son, Jesus Christ. And Jesus is the only being that God created who is just like God. That means that Jesus has the mother and father principles in him. He can create life all by himself, as God can. They lived a long time together in heaven, and they planned the creation. And the first of those created beings were the 6 archangels, the princes of heaven. And these 6 archangels, they formed the 3 houses of heaven. And over time, heaven became immensely populated in these 3 houses. These 3 houses have 24 elders, which make up the 12 tribes of heaven. And there were countless beings, divine, angelic beings living in heaven. And then something happened. Lucifer, who was the first of the 6 archangels, he decided that he could be a king like Jesus is a king. And many eons went by, and Lucifer was trying to gain support for this idea. In the end, 1/3 of heaven agreed with Lucifer that heaven was so big, so populated, that having 2 kings was not such a bad idea. And Lucifer, being the firstborn of the 6 archangels, would be a proper king. But of course, that's not what God had intended. God intended only to have one king in heaven, his only Son. And so came the Battle of Armageddon, which is called in the book of Revelations. It's the battle which took place in heaven, which cleared 1/3 of heaven's population out. The 1/3 who were sympathetic with Lucifer and his claim to a throne. This 1/3 of heaven is a countless number of beings. When we look around us in nature, all this life that's around us is filled with these spirits, the spirits of those fallen. And for millions of years, life has been on this planet. And for millions of years, the spirits of the fallen have been slowly regaining their virtue through long, arduous lives in the plant world, in trees, in the animal kingdom, and finally in human beings. And the first humans to finally reach that level of virtue had to wait in paradise, in the highest reaches of hell, had to wait for Jesus to come, to open the gates of heaven, and to allow the fallen to start to return to heaven. And so after he defeated Lucifer, he opened the gates, and those who had been ready to return started returning. Now the gate of heaven is open for all of us, and that is the purpose of our life. That's the purpose of our pain and anguish and tests that we have as a human, to regain that virtue that we lost. And it's by regaining this virtue through difficult lives as humans that we can regain our place in heaven, where we once lived in joy and harmony